In this episode, I'm going to talk about the three biggest areas of, I'm going to call them leaks that occur in your sales funnel. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how to patch them up and what to do about it. So stay tuned.
Small business, big technology. Be a boss, be a boss, be a boss, be a boss, be a tech smart boss.
Hey, everybody, this is David Ferguson with the Tech Smart Boss Podcast. Welcome to episode number 84, and we are so happy to have you here. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, this is the place where I talk about the overlap of business process and do-it-yourself technology with the goal of growing your business. And if you are a repeat listener, thanks again for coming in, tuning in, subscribing to the show. Really appreciate all the feedback, so definitely continue to send that in. And regardless if you're new or old, David at TechSmartBoss.com. Just reach out to me and let me know what you think about the podcast, the show, what you want to hear, future topics. If you disagree, it really doesn't matter. Just reach out and let me know that you're out there. So I'm going to jump right into the episode today because I got a short window of time here and I want to get some stuff off my head really quick for you. We're going to talk about sales funnels, and generally, I hope you have a sales funnel. If not, this will be a good recap show on what a sales funnel is. I've talked about that in the past. We're going to talk about the three areas that most organizations have a problem with in the sales funnel and give you some food for thought on where you should tackle or where you should spend some energy on how to improve your sales funnel. Now, this kind of goes back into that theory of process constraint that I talked about many podcasts ago, where, the best way to tackle problems and solve things incrementally in your company is to kind of do an analysis and see what's causing you the most problem. What's the biggest constraint in your process? Solve that and then move on to the next. Kind of like if you were a plumber and you had a clog in your drain, you're going to find the point where the clog is the worst, where the pipe is the most constrained. You're going to clear the clog out of that and get the water moving through that section of pipe. And then you're going to move on to the next constraint in the pipe where you might have to replace some pipe and put some bigger pipe. Now, I'm just talking off the top of my head because I don't know a doggone thing about plumbing or doing anything like that, but I do know a little bit about sales funnels. So we'll get back to that. Now, let's talk about the concept of a sales funnel once again. I'm going to simplify it to a large degree. You can get into weeds when it comes to your sales funnel, but I'm going to keep it really simple. Now, the reason they call it a funnel, if you think of a funnel, the top is wider. Think of like a cone. I want you to imagine a cone in your head, ice cream cone. And at the top is a big old opening, big old wide circle. And as you get deeper down into that ice cream cone, it comes to a point at the bottom. So I want you to think about, you got a lot of ice cream up at the top. You got a little bit of ice cream in the middle, and you might not even have any ice cream at the bottom. You might have some air at the bottom of the ice cream cone. But if it melts, or if you got a really good packer of the ice cream cone, then you got some good ice cream down there at the bottom of the cone too. The top of the cone is what we're going to call, that's where your leads are. That's what we call top of the funnel. And that's everybody learning about your company, coming to your website, walking into your store, reading about you, whatever it might be. These are top of the funnel type of leads where they're just becoming aware of you. Now, let's say they like you and, you like the ice cream and you're going to dig in a little bit deeper. Then you eventually get into the middle of the cone. And that's going to be let's call them your prospects, or call them middle of the funnel type of leads. These are folks that they learned a little bit about you and they say, hey, yeah, this is interesting. This is kind of what I need. This is what I'm looking for. Let me dig a little deeper and learn a little bit more about the products and the services and the offerings of this particular company. So that's why it's a funnel, because they started at the top and they went deeper. Now, a lot of people didn't go any deeper. A lot of those leads, let's just call them bounced. They came in, they saw what you were talking about. They said, I'm not even interested in these dudes. And they left. But a subset of those leads went a little bit deeper into the middle of your sales funnel, where they're learning more about what you specifically offer and how you compare and compete with your competition and things like that. So that's why it's a funnel, because as you go deeper, people leave and people continue down the journey. This is what we call the funnel is the buyer's journey from that perspective. So now, of those prospects of that middle of the funnel, then we get into the bottom of the funnel. That's the bottom of that cone. So there's even fewer people that make it down there. And that's where they said, yeah, I'm going to become a customer. Now, again, this is where you can break. I sometimes like to say the bottom of the funnel, they haven't become a customer yet. They're doing a really detailed look at your company. That's typically how I break it up. But just to simplify it today, we're just going to do 3 sections of our cone. Generally, I probably like to do about 5. And then, honestly, even after they become a customer, you got some sections of the funnel where they can become evangelists and they can start to write reviews and case studies and things like that and really start to spread the word about your product. But we're not going to go there. We're just talking about the buyer's journey right now. So at the bottom of that cone, where that last little good juicy bite is, let's just say that's where they become a customer. And you can imagine that there's a lot of people who are prospects who really do some due diligence on you. They might do a trial of your product. They might talk a lot. They might walk into your store and window shop and browse. They might look at your menu really tough and be like, man, I wonder how that cheesesteak sandwich tastes right there. But then they walk out the store and they walk out the restaurant and they don't buy anything. They just left. But the ones that do go ahead and buy something, they become customers and they're at the bottom of the funnel at that point. So that's what I want you to imagine from a sales funnel perspective. We're going to keep it simple today. You've got your leads coming in at the top of the funnel. You got your prospects continuing the buyer's journey in the middle of the funnel. Then you got they become customers and they buy something from you at the bottom of the funnel. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about sales funnel. Quick definition. Now, let's analyze where problems occur in that buyer's journey, which you as a business need to pay attention to. Because typically, most businesses are going to have at least one of these 3 issues that I'm going to talk about. And if you're really, really want to be honest, you probably got more than one, But now, I think one of the struggles is you try to solve everything too fast. Focus on one first, get really happy and comfortable with that one, and then move on to the other issues. Don't try to conquer all your issues at the same time. And that's just a takeaway I'll give you here. That's just something I've learned over the last 20 years. So let's go over these 3 sales problems. I want you to identify which one you might have. And if you don't have any of them, I want you to email me and tell me, david@techsmartboss.com, because I want to know what you're doing, because I want to do what you're doing. Because I'll tell you the truth. I got some. I'll go through and I'll tell you the problems I got, but I'm going to walk through them because, every time I do one of these podcasts, it's kind of something that I'm doing in my primary business, something I'm focused on, something I'm giving some thought to be like, what can I do better in this situation? And once I give it some thought, I say, well, let me go ahead and do a podcast on it and put it out there for somebody else who might be listening. And I appreciate all the, weekly listeners to the show. And I want to give you real time information that can help you, just like it's helping me as I figured out real time as well. So I got some of these problems. I want to know what problems you have in these. First problem, and honestly, this goes back to the episode I did. I believe it was episode 82, where I talked about your customer acquisition method. First big problem you have in your sales funnel is obtaining those top of the funnel leads. You don't have enough traffic. And then when I say traffic, that could be traffic to your website, traffic in your store, foot traffic to your e-commerce store, traffic to your landscaping business. You just don't have enough leads. However you define a lead. Again, and I'll go back to what I said in episode 82, if you got a good product or service, that's always number one. You got to have a good product or service. You got to have something that people want to buy. If you have a good product or service, then you got to go back to episode 82 and you got to figure out the top 1, at the most top 2. But again, you see a theme here. I always say to have a focus. We spread ourselves too thin as entrepreneurs trying to figure out what works. And in some cases that's good. We call it experimentation. But at some point, the experimentation kind of has to come to a conclusion. You got to pick one, or at the most you got to pick 2. You got to go back to episode 82 and figure out what your customer acquisition method is that works for your business. And I gave you 6. And within those 6 I gave you in episode 82, you could break them out into 6 each. You could break them out into 36. You could break it out into 70. There's so many different customer acquisition channels. And I covered, how to pick the best one for your business. Now, And I also said in that episode that as you grow, it changes. So I'm in a stage where, in my business where I went with inbound marketing and a content marketing strategy. And I wrote a lot of blogs, and that was really great because it doesn't cost a lot to do and you get great return on investment. And I'm still getting tons of traffic to my website from blogs that I wrote, 2-3 years ago. And that's great. But I've hit I would say a plateau in terms of traffic. I'm not growing as much. Now, at the same point, I'm not blogging as much either. So it's not that I ran out of topics. I just started focusing on more things, and I had hired a person and then they moved to Korea and started teaching English as a second language. And I'm not going to get into all that. I haven't backfilled that position, and I haven't gotten back into the content marketing because even when I was doing it, I had kind of hit a plateau. So I have a problem. I have a problem at the point of obtaining leads. Now, when I say that, I still got a healthy amount of leads coming in, but as you grow as a company, you need more and more and better than that. But my problem is not obtaining leads right now. I'm just going to say that's not my problem. Sure, I would like to have more. That's not really my issue. I've got a good steady flow of leads coming in. Analyze your sales funnel and think about if you have a good steady flow of leads coming in. And that might be your problem. We're going to talk about in a second how to nail that as your problem as we go through the other two here. Next issue where you might be bleeding. No, I'm not going to call it bleeding. I'll call it a leaky sales funnel. Where you might be leaking is you have a problem turning those leads into prospects. So that's the top of the funnel to the middle of the funnel and your sales funnel. You have a problem getting your people coming to your site, walking in your store, doing whatever. You have a problem turning them into prospects, getting them interested. Could be that your price is too high. They look at your price and they be like, oh my goodness, no way in the world I can go with this. You're not giving them content to kind of hit their pain points. You're not selling them appropriately. You're not convincing them that this is a solution for the particular pain that they might have. You don't have compelling call to actions. So if you go back and listen to my podcast episodes on lead generation and call to action, I believe it was way back episode 13, 12, 13, 14, where I laid out my content marketing strategy. But when that lead, let's just talk about from a website perspective, lands on your website, you got to turn them into a prospect. Now, it could be different definitions of a prospect. I've always said a prospect is somebody who goes from a anonymous visitor into a known person. How do they do that? They fill out a form on your website. They hit a call to action button and they read a blog article and you give them a content upgrade. These are all terms I've talked about in the past, so check out the past podcasts if they're a little bit foreign to you. But you give them a content upgrade or might be anything, video, ebook, a white paper, case study, free trial, demo. There's so many different, all sorts of lead call to action, lead generation tools, but they put their name and their email and they tell you who they are. At that point, they become a qualified lead or a prospect. You might have a leaky funnel in that you got too many people coming into your sales funnel, but not coming into prospects. So imagine your cone, imagine your funnel at that point. You got a big old wide top of your ice cream cone, and then it shrinks down real fast because you only have a few people coming in as prospects. Couple things you got to analyze if that's your problem. One, you're probably attracting the wrong leads. So go back to what I said about the customer acquisition. Let's say, for example, you were buying traffic, you were doing paid ads. Probably means you're wasting your money because you're buying a lot of traffic that doesn't convert. And that means that you're buying the wrong traffic. I'll give you an example. I've been doing some outbound. I've been trying, outbound email to bring in leads. I've been doing, some more educational webinar type of things. And I've been sending out a wide net in terms of my outbound outreach. I've been getting pretty low response. So what that tells me after, trying this for a little bit of time is I'm targeting the wrong users. My message is not resonating. And, first you got to understand, you got to tweak your message. You adjust your message, you adjust your subject lines. I mean, this is an evolving thing. It's never just one thing you try. But once you feel pretty confident that you got the right message and the message is not being heard by your audience, then you're reaching the wrong people. So that's number one. So if you got a lot of leads coming in, but very few are going in that middle of the funnel where they're taking action. That action could be, and now I mentioned the action was, putting their name and email in. Doesn't have to be that. You could have your web analytics set up to look at just how many pages they visit, how many pages they read, how long they stick inside your website. You can base it on return visitors, how many times they come back to your site again, 2 or 3 or 4 times. These could be the definition of a prospect. But at some point, they do have to contact you because, I haven't figured out a technology that can guess who is an anonymous user and telepathically send them, a sales pitch. Generally, once they convert, that's when you're going to start into your sales pitch. So you got to get them converted into prospects first, which means you got to get them interested into the middle of the funnel. So if that's your problem, if you got a lot of leads coming in, but they're not converting into prospects, then you got to dig in deep on what your call to actions are, what your content upgrades are. You got to look at your website. If we're talking about a website, and think about, is it confusing? Do people come in and do they not like the look and feel of your website? Do they not know where to go? Is the navigation not clean? Is the call to actions, is it all crowded and cluttered and looks kind of like chaos? All these could be factors in why you're not turning into prospects. If you apply this to a retail type environment, do they come in your store? Do they even get to your front door and see that it looks unsafe? Or when they walk in, it looks unorganized and dirty and scattered? They got bad customer service. You got people unhappy working at the store, not greeting people in a happy, friendly way, not answering questions, getting them to turn into prospects. So you got to think about it from that perspective as well. Are you getting feet in the door and doing a lot of window shopping, but they're not buying it? Is your price too high? Is it turning them away? That the price is too high? If they're coming into your e-commerce store and they're clicking around and they're looking at a couple of items but not buying, you got to think about why people are not doing certain things to get into the middle of your funnel and to become a qualified lead at that point. Why are they not converting into your opportunity? So that's the second big issue with sales funnels, is you're not turning these leads into prospects. Now, you could probably guess what the third one is in this simplified case I'm talking about here. But the third biggest issue I'm going to say out there is you're not turning your prospects into customers. So now think about your funnel again. You got a big old funnel where all your leads are coming in. That shrinks down at a fair rate where you got a good conversion rate of leads to prospects. But then they die. Nobody turns into a customer, or very few prospects actually turn into customers at that point. They're in the home stretch. They're ready to go, but they decide, nah. Now think about a car dealership. And I mean, this is a good example, actually. Think about car dealership. Car dealerships, I've seen stats that say most people who walk on a lot are buying a car. So their funnel looks almost like almost like a cylinder in those top 2 levels, because the number of leads that coming in the door convert to prospects. They're pretty serious. If you take the effort and the time to go to a car lot, you're pretty doggone serious, because you're probably going to do your research on the web if you're not serious. So by the time you take the effort to actually go out there and get harassed by a car salesman, you're pretty serious. So, top of the funnel and middle of the funnel, depending on where you put it. But let's just say when they step on the car lot, they're top of the funnel and they go straight into being a prospect almost. But if you have a whole lot of people bouncing and telling the dealer, nah, I'm not going to buy from you, they got a leaky funnel here turning their prospects into customers. Now, why would that be? Well, it's the salesperson. It's a bad sales message that, salesperson probably rubbed them the wrong way. They lied to them, or they deceived them, or they were just slimy, or they just was too over aggressive or too pushy or whatever. And then stats show that a healthy dealership, that most people that come on the lot, they end up buying, because, if anybody has a process, you talk about process, car dealerships have process. I've seen it. That's one example. But if you got so let's just go back to the web example. If you got a lot of people coming to your website If you got a healthy amount of people coming in and converting into prospects, but they do not convert into customers, then number 3 here is your problem. You have a problem in getting the hard cash, converting them into customers. So you got to think about, what is the problem here? And it may be that you just don't have a good sales process in terms of getting their trust, going that extra mile to convince them that your solution is better than the competition. Maybe you're failing if you have an evaluation or a trial. Your trial is falling short at that particular point. So you got to really think about, why are people not becoming customers? One of the biggest problems that I find with small business and entrepreneurs and just startups in general is you don't ask for the business. You just simply, and I've felt that for many years. It's especially true when you have an entrepreneur who's not a salesperson by nature. You're always a little bit you fear that rejection a little bit. So you just don't ask the question, what is it going to take for you to buy? What are you looking for? What do I have to show you in order to get you to move forward? Simple question like that, straight and direct. And you'll find out, and then you'll have your marching papers or not. So one of the biggest areas in this problem is lack of follow-up. I'll just name it as that. You don't follow up with your prospects well enough. You might follow up once. You might reach out when they convert. Hey, how can I help you? And then that's it. Or you may reach out a couple times, do a demo, do whatever, but never really follow up and push aggressively at that point to try to get the business. So that's a sales process issue right there. The other big problem, and I guess it's the same thing, sales problem, is your challenge at really any of these points in the sales funnel, but more so into turning prospects into customers, is just as important to get the no as it is to get the yes. And I think that, and I know this is one of the problems that I have in my sales funnel, is I got too many people out there in what they call, I'm going to call it, I don't know if they call it, I'm going to call it sales limbo, sales purgatory. You don't know if it's a yes or a no. People just fade away, just fade into the ether. You don't know what happened to the deal. At the end of the day, a no is just as valuable to you as a yes, because guess what a no gives you? A no gives you the constraint in your process. A no tells you, this product had more features than you, so I went with that product. This product was less expensive than you, so I went with that product. Your product didn't do ABC, so I couldn't go that direction. A no gives you more value, other than the fact that a yes going to give you some money. But if you can't get a yes, a no is the second best thing you can get. But guess what you got to do to get the no? You got to be persistent. You got to stay on that lead. You got to continue to follow up and contact until you get the no. Now, how do you do that? Well, it's going to depend on your business, but it's probably going to be if you're generally a web-based business, like I think most businesses that I'm talking to are. This is where a combination of sales and nurture or drip campaigns come into place, where from a drip perspective, at first you're doing some educational type of messaging to, inform, because they are prospects, so you're trying to inform and convince. Then when they get a little bit deeper in that sales process, you're trying to convert. And if you don't get the conversion, you got to go for the reason why. And you got to be like, why? When somebody tells you they went another direction, you got to take that extra effort to be like, well, what direction did you go? You mind telling me, because it helps me with my marketing and my sales. You just tell them, hey, I put some effort with you, but what can really make my effort worthwhile is if you give me more information on why you decided to go that path. No hard feelings. I hope your success, but why did you do it? And that'll help me quite a bit as I improve on my process on my side. And that'll give you that valuable information on why that. But you got to get the no. If you can't get the yes, then you got to get the no. And that's going to be that. So if this is your problem, turning your prospects into customers, then you got to really dig into your communication, into your sales process. Every single communication you have should be taking them closer to saying a yes or a no. And if you're too pushy, you're going to push them to the no faster. So you got to gauge this. You can't just go crazy on a person. But once you get that fine tune here, you'll be more effective. And then what you want essentially is to get this down to a science. where you can say, if I got this, and this gets all the way back to this leading indicators I talked about in the podcast way back, how to determine your leading indicators. But you can say that if I get this many prospects, then I'm going to get this many customers. If I get this many prospects to a stage where they're doing this particular action, maybe asking for a quote, or maybe asking for a trial, or maybe if they contact your support team X number of times, or, you can really dig into your data and find where, if you find that magic number of where they take a certain action, that you can say at that point, 50% of the time or 30% of the time they become customers, then you have a lever and you can start to accelerate all these other parts of the cycle I talked about, the leads, the call to actions, all those to get more people to that point, and you'll know that you have a guaranteed outcome of customers. It's not that simple because, again, it's hard to do these other things. It's hard to just grow your pipeline, top of the funnel, with more leads that match your customer persona. Keep in mind, if I go in and just buy a whole bunch of leads, buy some traffic from Google, go buy some ads from Facebook, yeah, I'm going to get more leads, but they're not going to be the same good leads that I had before. They're not going to convert into prospects at the same conversion rate. And of course, they're not going to convert into customers because the lead source was different. So you have to definitely segment all this data by lead source ultimately, so you know which lead source is bringing you the best conversion rates into customers. And then you do your best to grow that. But guess what? It's not like it can scale to infinity. It's going to reach a point where you can't scale that anymore. And that's where you have to go and find your new lead sources and your new customer acquisition methods. You see how this all, people who try to make this simple, it's not simple. I'm trying to simplify it, but I also want to make sure it's not simple, because quite honestly, if it was simple, I'd have done it by now and I'd be $1 billion business. I'm still, struggling at this point. I said I'll tell you where I'm struggling. I'm still struggling at that, turning the prospects into customers. So, I'm digging into everything from the onboarding. One thing I'm digging into is, and this is a little bit different frame of mind, but it's important for you to hear it, is I want prospects to say no earlier. I'm getting a lot of people to come down. It's kind of weird. I'm doing such a great job bringing in the leads and converting them to prospects that what I hear when they say no is, "Oh, I love your company. I love the honesty and the transparency and the authenticity, and I love the way you approach business. I want to do business with you guys, but you're missing this feature, or you're missing this piece here, or you're missing that." So I'm getting a whole bunch of prospects that actually are not really good prospects for my product. They just like the way I do business, and it's hard to turn them into customers at that point. So I got to put more things into place to kind of cut down, better qualify before I put my effort into them. So I got to put more out front to say, if this is you, then you're not a good fit for our product, type of thing. But the catch-22 on that, when they see that, they like the company and the product even more, because we're being honest about what's not good about the product. So it's kind of an interesting thing that I'm dealing with right now. But think about you. Think about your business, your customer. Which one of these do you follow? Are you having problems attaining leads? Are you having a problem turning the leads into prospects? Are you having a problem turning the prospects into customers? And think about dig deep into the why. Stop trying to fix all three areas of it. You might say, I got a problem everywhere. Well, just pick one. Pick one and solve it. And I'll be honest, it's more important to get customers. You got to have some customers. Your customers pay the bills. So a lot of people will try to say, if I just got more leads, if I just got more traffic, if I just get more people coming in the store, I'll do better. That's the whole build it and they will come type of philosophy. Maybe not. Really focus on the closing car dealership sale. Focus on how you're going to close the deal. Get that tight. Then work your way back up the sales funnel. That's going to be my advice to you right there. All right, I promise to keep this short. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. If you got some value from this, if you like this podcast, please let me know. David@techsmartboss.com. Share it out with your network. Go out and leave a rating and review on iTunes. Do all that great stuff. It helps us tremendously. And, let me know. Find us on social media. Check us out on YouTube. Go out to techsmartboss.com. See all the stuff we're doing. We think you'll like it. And definitely subscribe so that next Tuesday at 10 a.m., you'll get the next episode of the podcast. I have no idea what it's going to be, but it'll be what it be. It'll be something I'm working on. And with that, I'm just going to end it and say, be blessed. Have a great week and continue to be a tech smart boss. I'll talk to you next time.
Small business, big technology. Be a boss, be a boss, be a boss, be a boss, be a tech smart